What's up, guys? How's it going? Ryan here, back with you for another episode of Content Podcast, episode number 9. I'm Ryan, 28. This is Blake. He's 28 as well, right? You're 28?
Yeah, 28.
Okay, 28. Cool. So yeah, welcome, guys. Welcome back to another episode. I guess we have to get the elephant out of the room again. This guy to my left does not look like Pixel in the slightest.
What's up, guys? My name's Pixel Pusher.
He does not look like Pixel at all. He has a lighter skin complexion, possibly a better hairline. No offense, Pixel. Shout outs to you. But yeah, so let's just get that out of the way. This is my friend Blake. His socials are all down in the description below, as well in the scuffed show notes, I should say. If you guys weren't here for episode 8, we talked about it briefly, but Pixel is going on a road trip across America to visit a bunch of nature spots or something. He hiked 12 miles yesterday or something like that. Some crazy canyon in Utah or something, and took this pretty epic picture that honestly just looked like a screensaver, and he could have photoshopped himself, who knows. Maybe he just didn't want to maybe he just wanted to disconnect for a week. I still think that he's pulling a Britney Spears. I don't forgot what the movie's called, that Britney Spears road trip movie where she's in a convertible top and or a Sisterhood of Traveling Pants type of thing and just trying to find himself. But he will be back next week. He should be back by, I believe, this weekend sometime in the evening, but we usually throw up or record this episode of this podcast whenever we can. So graciously, Blake was able to fill in for him since we didn't want to lose momentum. So I know that's kind of weird, guys. This isn't usually how the podcast is. I know that we had an episode with my friend Eli. That was a special episode talking about fast food and the best fast food tiers, which we'll get into with Blake. And then it transitioned to back to Pixel, where he amazingly appeared again. And then he had to go on vacation. So now we're back and we're stuck here with Blake. So yeah, that's about it. Before we really dive into it, though, as always, remember you guys can follow us on Spotify and iTunes. I know most of you guys are there. We appreciate you guys. We just hit the landmark 400 subscribers on Spotify and iTunes, and we still have, and shout out to you guys, we still have about 40 people now listening to us on Google Home. So thanks for listening to us on Google Home, I guess. Shout outs to you guys or whatever. We have 2 people on Alexa apparently who are also listening to us for some reason. So thanks guys for that. Remember, if you guys haven't subscribed already, that's the best way to get notified for the podcast and all that good stuff. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we can just jump right into it. So obviously most of you guys don't know who Blake is. Maybe some of you do. I don't know. That would be really creepy or weird. But I thought it would be best to just ease into it and just go with pretty much just the stupid FAQs. It's going to feel like a job interview for a bit for Blake, which is great. But Blake, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I guess the first question is, what is your connection with the podcast? How do you know me? How did we meet, etc.? And I'll kind of jump in here and there to add my own take to it as well.
Okay. Well, I met Kubo, I don't know how many years ago, probably a few now, through church.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of hung out with him ever since, and knew he did podcasts and filled in when I needed to step in.
Yeah, so he's basically just being a bro for this podcast at all. Have you ever been on something like this, or is this kind of your first time experimenting in the podcasting world, or
first time on a podcast. So
okay,
it's exciting. It's new.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's kind of weird, but it lets you get your creative flow out and just talk and randomly just talk about random stuff. So next question that everyone hates being asked: what's your favorite color? Whoa. Also, Blake is in a bomb shelter right now, so sorry for all you guys. Rip ears for that. That was crazy, yo.
Is that really loud? I'm sorry.
No, it was okay. It's fine.
My favorite color, it depends. So there's clothes color, and then there's aesthetic color.
Okay, let's go aesthetic color.
Aesthetic, I would say blue is my favorite color. I just like how rich it seems. I don't know how to describe it.
All right, fair enough.
But then as far as clothes, I would probably say blue is up there, but I think more neutral colors are what I wear more, just because it's easier to mix and match that way.
Okay.
Get less color clash.
All right, fair enough. I know that's like the dumbest question ever, but I feel like it always has to be asked or whatever. I think we asked Eli that question as well.
It tells a lot about a person, you know?
Apparently. Also, if you guys didn't know, Blake, Eli, and myself know each other also. There will be probably a lot of references back to him as well. Shout outs to Eli. Hopefully him linking his LinkedIn at the end of my podcast helped or something. Yeah, he linked his LinkedIn as his social media at the end of the podcast. Okay. So hopefully, that helped him out as well or whatever. And then I guess next question that we kind of always ask new guests is gaming history. You don't have to go back to like when you were a child, because that's the most stereotypical gaming history that I've probably ever heard in my life. But if you want to, go for it. I guess just your brief gaming history, and then we can kind of catch up when you get to the present or whatever.
Okay. So I think my seriousness in gaming probably started when I was in about 7th grade. I played Counter-Strike for the first time at my friend's house, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I found out that to get Counter-Strike at the time, all you needed was a Half-Life 1 CD key.
True. It was easy.
Yeah, so I didn't own it, and I didn't have a job or money, but my brother had a Half-Life 1 CD key.
We're just gonna... Okay. Uh-huh.
And so I just took it and played it. I claimed the key as my own.
So you yoinked the key and activated it on your Steam account.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. How's your brother feel about that?
He says he's bitter, but I don't think he really was.
Okay, so he's never played Counter-Strike then?
He has later, like probably Counter-Strike Source.
Okay.
But I don't think he really played 1.6, which is what I played.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I started, was 1.6. And then I built my own gaming computer when I was in 8th grade to play Counter-Strike and Battlefield 1942. And then through high school, I kind of just like upgraded it, played whatever. Couldn't afford WoW, played in private servers. Found out that was not exactly legal. Stopped playing in private servers. Played free MMOs like Night Online, Fly for Fun.
Oh my gosh,
Road.
Night Online.
Yeah, those golden gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you playing right now?
Right now, probably the biggest game is Overwatch.
Okay.
I'll kind of dabble in League of Legends too. I'm not great at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people I play with have played it for years, so they're super good. And like I can hold my own, but I can't output the numbers that they put out. Like whenever I look at damage done or something, like I'm half of what they do. But it's still fun, I guess. Pretty tilting at times. But I think any competitive game is tilting.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of backlash when it comes to Overwatch too, right? Like I feel like Blizzard, unfortunately, as a company, sometimes when it comes out with the game, I feel like the game usually, for the most part, it starts off with pretty good ratings and praise from the community, from the gaming community as a whole, but then from there it seems to kind of like falter, right? Like we've seen that a lot with like Hearthstone, for example. We've seen that a lot with like even Diablo 3, like with all of its bugs and issues. Like it was pretty low like reviewed at the time. Heroes of the Storm was like pretty well liked within the community and stuff like that. Even Overwatch, right? Like it seemed like it was game of the year. It had like a bunch of new players. Like everyone was fiending for beta keys at the time. What do you think about the state of Overwatch nowadays? Because I feel like 3 to 4 years after a Blizzard game comes out, or maybe with any game, maybe the complaints just start rolling in, right? The argument for years with Blizzard has been that they have one foot in the door with casuals and one foot in the door with competitive, and basically neither side gets what they want. So how do you feel about where Overwatch is from, like, I guess more of a competitive gameplay stance, or from the way that you play it? Because I know you're more than just like a casual player, I would assume.
Right. I feel like it's in a better spot now than it has been. I think competitive wise, everyone talks about the GOAT comp, which is 3 tanks, 3 healers, and how it's just boring. That's what everybody does, at least in like the Overwatch League and all that stuff. That's like the go-to team comp.
Right.
And I think I almost kind of like it more that way, just because it's sort of every team is playing the same thing, and it's more who is playing it better.
Right.
And so there's more teamwork and tactics involved, I think, in that sense, where it's sort of like, say, if you were to watch normal sports, it's all kind of the same position, like ever, I guess, in the game, both teams have the same position. So it's just who's playing better.
Right. Or I mean, even from like a Counter-Strike point of view, right? Which is the reason why Counter-Strike has been such like a beloved esport for a while, is like, yeah, guns and stuff I guess would change, and the rate of fire of guns and accuracy of guns would change, but at the end of the day, it's like whoever has the better whatever team just in general is better.
Right, yeah. It's just whoever's playing better. It's more skill-based, not just comp-based. Like maybe a comp is just better in one situation, and if that team just plays that comp better, like say if it's a more dive comp where everyone's kind of jumping in faster, then that team is just going to win. Whereas if both teams have to play the same thing, they're going to practice the same comp. They're going to know in each situation what they should be doing. So I feel like it's a little more intense gameplay that way.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think also, and this is kind of a tangent that we've been talking about in previous episodes as well, I really do think that the issue too, as a whole with just video games, but also kind of from the esports side of thing, is Fortnite development cycle. I don't think a lot of people realize that the Fortnite development cycle is just incredibly fast. And because it's so fast, it's just making other games look slow. And the thing is with Fortnite is they come out with a major patch every 2 weeks. And that's not just like they change the rate of fire of guns as well, but it seems like every 2.5 weeks they're adding a new gun, or just totally redesigning something, or taking away like an entirely new gun, or adding some type of vehicle or something crazy within the game that totally completely like, changes the whole meta and makes the game feel fresh. And I feel like that's also kind of why there's a longevity with Fortnite. But then when you look at games like like Overwatch or any other competitive game, it's like, man, why don't they ever update this game? It's so slow. But I think like Fortnite has really caused I think a really bad thing in the video game industry, to be honest. Even just with things like their battle pass, right? It's so good, and the value for like $10 in it is so good. When any other game has come out the battle pass following them, it's like this battle pass sucks. Which, to be fair, the battle pass is supposed to suck because it's $10, right? It's supposed to just kind of appease like free to play players, but then convince them to buy more like skins and stuff like that. That costs twice as much as it.
I actually think that the whole battle pass or like season pass concept is what the future of pay to play games. I guess sort of like the base game is free, but then to really get the content, you want to get the battle pass because what was it? Clash of Clans, like the studio that made that game, announced recently. I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I think daily they were making like 1.5 million, like globally, and they released a battle pass or season pass. And I think I don't remember what you got from it, but they announced that after they did that, I think it was daily. I'm not even sure. But their revenue jumped up to like 3.8 million, which is like a massive increase if it's daily. So
right.
I think companies are going to start seeing that, and they're seeing Fortnite and their success with it, and they're going to start mimicking it. And because it's sort of everybody wins, where if you're not willing to pay or you can't pay for the season pass, you can still play the game and have fun and then buy it whenever. But then if you want to pay and support the game, you can still pay and feel like you're getting something cool, and it's not just like you're not paying to win, like you're not getting a big advantage over them. It's all cosmetic, but then you look cool. So I definitely think Fortnite did that really well. I think they're paving the way for that, actually.
I think that's the case. Also, the numbers were they generated 2.3 billion in revenue with a profit of 964 million last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there's your numbers or whatever. I don't know what that is breaking it down. I'm not good at math or whatever. But I think also that's a big thing because I don't know if you heard, but a Republican senator, I forgot from what state, or I think it's a congressman actually, has once again proposed that there should be restriction on loot boxes in games. So I can definitely see like the battle pass kind of getting around that. Or whatever, because it's not really like it's not very predatorial, because the bill's complaint is that loot boxes are predatorial because they cause gambling addictions, right? Because it's random RNG, you don't know what to get, it's just a shinier version of a casino slot machine, but the value of the items are even less because you can't trade them or whatever, right? And with the battle pass, you just kind of buy it outright. Everyone gets the same thing. It doesn't affect gameplay at all. There'll probably be loopholes to all this stuff as well. If you guys remember, loot boxes are banned in China and parts of Asia in Overwatch and in Heroes. But in Overwatch, for example, you pay $50 for 1,000 currency, and then they give you 50 loot boxes for free. So that's how they get around it. Even Hearthstone in Asia does the same thing. You pay $50 for 50 dust, and then you get 50 packs for free for buying it. So that's technically the loopholes and the stuff that they're getting around for there as well. I definitely agree that the battle pass is probably going to be something that is going to be done to games in the future. I think that like a free to play market is just yeah, it's just how it is, regardless how I feel about it. I'm not really sure how I feel about it, but it's been proven that it works. And that it's very convincing to convince parents to buy a game for their kid when it's free. Let's be real here. Or pay only $10 every couple months instead of paying $60. I think that's one of the reasons why, me personally, I'm not a console gamer. It's every time I buy a new console game, I think the last one I bought was Super Smash Brothers. It was like $60, really, for like this game when like so many games are free to play. And I feel like that's also kind of why Fortnite has kind of exploded on especially consoles, phones, computers, etc., especially console gamers, because League of Legends obviously was the first like big free game that everyone played, but that wasn't on console obviously. So for some kids, for some gamers, this is like the first good free to play game which is on console. So I think that's pushing it, I think that will push battle passes and all that stuff into the future. I was going to ask though, what is your take on mobile gaming? Because it's getting super big. It's super popular, and I think it's way bigger than what we thought it was like a few years ago, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like at least in the US or like North America, in Europe, and I guess like Australia, pretty much everywhere other than Asia, I feel like console and computer games are still going to be king. But then it's really just Asia that's really pushing the mobile market, and they have such a huge audience that companies are gonna start designing mobile games for that, and then whatever casual gamer over here, or like Europe, wherever, will kind of just pick up that. It won't necessarily will be as big here, but I think like casually people will play it, like Pokemon Go. Like some people still play that game, or like it's not as big as when it was in its heyday, but there's still a pretty sizable community here. And
I think Pokemon Go, we won't see anything like that in our generation, to be honest. I think that was like pretty crazy. I forgot what the statistics of that game is, but I remember like going to like I remember like distinctly going to like a make your own pizza type of shop here where I lived, and like everyone in line was playing the game, and I distinctly remember this older couple in front of us, had to be probably in their 70s, were playing it. And like we're catching Pokemon, and they didn't even know like the names of the Pokemon. It's like, oh look, I just got this cute little turtle. Like they were playing the game, and like I don't even know if they understood what was going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, really, what was going on with that game? So I don't think we'll see the likes of it. Yeah, but Pokemon Go is still really, really popular. I think it still has like 2 to 3 million active users every day. Or whatever.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy like that. I will say, and I brought this up a couple times before, but I do think that it's hard to say for me for mobile gaming. As you guys know, I do have a daughter, and um, a lot of her friends, she's in the 5th grade right now, and a lot of her friends this past holiday season, they didn't ask for consoles or computers. The kids that didn't have consoles, there's some kids like their parents have consoles they share with the family, you know what I mean? But they didn't ask for consoles for themselves or gaming computers for themselves. My daughter was saying, and also talking to the kids as well, that the number one thing they wanted was an iPad or a tablet or even like an Amazon Fire tablet, like some cheapo tablet. And when their reasoning was asked why, it's because I want to play Roblox, I want to play Fortnite, I want to play these mobile games like on my tablet, And even just seeing like, so like I play Roblox sometimes with my daughter and stuff. That's like her game of choice. We'll play together, and it's on the computer. So I play on the computer. She plays on her tablet. And we play like these platformer type games on there, and like she's really good at them on the iPad, and all of her friends are really good with them on the iPad, like a platformer game, like something that like a 3D platformer, right? But then if I get her on a keyboard and mouse, she can't do it. She's not like that great at it, but all of her, and that includes all of her friends who have tried on computer. But when it comes to like touchscreen controls, just like even racing games, she's not that great at like Mario Kart or something like that. But then when you put her on like a tablet with touchscreen controls, she's really good at racing games. So it's hard for me to say because there's a generation that has been growing up that has just grown up just like we did growing up with like the Super Nintendo and the consoles. There's a generation growing up right now that's growing up with touchscreen controls and mobile devices because the device was already there. The install base is very simple, and it was easier for their parents to give them that instead of sitting them in front of a Super Nintendo, right? They want to distract their kids for 10 minutes outside, they give them their phone. Boom, it's easy. They can, and then also, it's very easy to take away, right? Hey, you played for 10 minutes outside, that's great, I need my phone back. Right? It's very easy to like take the device, whereas like with a Nintendo or something there might be more arguments, right? That's my theory, at least. So it's hard to say actually with mobile gaming. I think that a generation is definitely growing up where it's going to be like an okay thing.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm not really hip with what the kids are into, but yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense. And then especially with cloud gaming, that's starting to really ramp up. I could totally see there being like mobile game subscriptions where you can play whatever just on your phone through your data plan. You don't need
right
all this like high tech gear. Like it's just a screen. So yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like us with microtransactions, right? Like our generation, I think for the most part, we don't care for microtransactions. They're not needed. They're not a necessity. But then we have friends that are even like 5 or 6 years younger than us that grew up with microtransactions, and they're totally fine with it. You know what I mean? And that really changed like the landscape of gaming and stuff like that. Side note, and we talked about this, I think, a couple of episodes ago, but do you know it's the 15-year anniversary from when Horse Armor came out in Oblivion? Do you remember that controversy?
No, I never actually played Oblivion.
Okay, so 15 years ago, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion came out for PC and Xbox 360. One of the things that what they had in the game was they promised on the console that there would be stuff called downloadable content, or DLC they called it for short. And for $5, you could buy for your horse cosmetic armor that changed the color of the armor on your horse to whatever you wanted. Okay? This happened 15 years ago. Bethesda had to remove the horse armor from the store because there was so much controversy and backlash. Because people were pissed. They said, "Who the heck would pay $5 for armor just to change the look and feel of your horse?"
Oh, how times have changed!
So it's been 15 years since that controversy, and I remember the reason why people were so pissed was because the modding community for Oblivion were like, "What the heck?" Like Bethesda's trying to undercut and undermine us, and like make us take away like this map editing, like this editing tools and software that we've used and try to profit off of like our backs. Like that's not okay, and it's just kind of crazy to see like it's been 15 years since then. I think less, maybe 13 years since then, and like how much things have changed.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So
changed a lot.
Yeah, so that apparently is something that's like I don't know. It's just weird because now I feel like we're okay with like microtransactions within games as long as they don't affect like the core gameplay of the game, right? At least you and
Right.
I. But I feel like that has been changing over time for quite a while, actually. I think another thing that like we kind of have touched on before is like I don't know if you've been following the controversy of FIFA 2019.
No.
Okay, so in FIFA 2019, there are loot boxes, which they have called the Wilson loot box because the CEO is named, I think his name's like some Scott Wilson or something like that. But he created a loot box that essentially makes it so that when you open it, it's like opening a card pack in a video game, but you get players within the game that have values to them, and you keep opening them over and over again, right? And some of them are really good, some of them are really bad. You can sell these players, trade these players, etc. Well, it was just announced that FIFA 2019, a game that is already $60 retail price, last year made $1.2 billion in just microtransaction sales alone. And
Wow.
the game is already $60 per install, right? So it's already like pretty expensive for like a box game, and it's like about 1.2 1.6 billion dollars, and none of those microtransactions are transferable to the next sports game. So when FIFA 20 comes out, you won't be able to transfer any of that like any of those players that you've unlocked to your current game. So like I don't know how you feel about that or like what you think about that. It's just I don't know, it's just ridiculous, I think.
Yeah. I guess if you look at, say, normal games now that have loot boxes, whatever you unlock with that loot box won't transfer to the next game. It's just FIFA has a new game every year, so it's within a year it's gonna be done unless you keep playing it by yourself.
Right.
So it's like
So
if
yeah.
Call of Duty were to do that, like I don't think they have. They may have loot boxes now. I don't even know, but it'd be like if Call of Duty did that, and you just didn't get any of the guns or any of the stuff that you unlock that you paid to unlock, essentially.
Right.
I don't
Um
know.
yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming your stance is the same as mine, where it's basically you're okay with just cosmetic loot boxes, things that don't affect like core gameplay value.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No
um,
unfair advantage for paying more money.
yeah, I think the only games that get away with it are card games because we have a physical counterpart that mirrors it, right? So like
Yeah.
we're used to paying for loot boxes essentially in Hearthstone because there's games like Magic the Gathering that have a paper format where people do exactly the same thing or whatever. So it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of weird to think about. Speaking of Call of Duty, though, they've had controversy as well because they're being split between four developers who are developing all the games. And this year, especially, they added 3 battle passes to their game one for multiplayer, one for their battle royale version and one for zombies. So there's 3 different battle
Hmm.
passes. They don't intermingle with each other at all. And then on top of that, they also started a flash sale store, kind of like Fortnite, where certain skins or items or cosmetics are only available for 12 hours and then they go away and they may never come back again, which creates the feeling of like exclusivity, which is kind of crazy as well. So, the big controversy with Call of Duty right now is there has been no word if their battle royale version will be supported next year, right? Because I forgot who made this latest Call of Duty. I want to say it was Treyarch, but let's say Treyarch supported it, and then this year it's like another company, like Sledgehammer Games, is making the next Call of Duty. What happens then, right? There's no guarantee that like the COD battle royale version will transfer from like one license to the other or
Oh
like
yeah.
how they improve it or will. So I know that there's like controversy within that as well, which I don't know. Call of Duty is kind of a crapshoot though.
Yeah, that's yeah, I'm curious what they'll end up doing.
I don't know. What do you think they would do? Like support it? Just say screw it? I mean, it's different developers, right? So you can't really fault them. I don't even know if they're working together.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I don't, cuz I feel like Treyarch would just keep supporting their battle royale and then just hope that like people keep playing it, and then as soon as it hits that threshold of there's just not enough players to justify supporting it, then they'll kind of phase it out. That's my guess. But then
I feel like Call of Duty players though are so used to buying a new game every year. I don't know if that will work out too well.
Yeah, like I remember, I don't remember which one it was. I think I got like Black Ops 3 or 2 once for like Christmas, and I just totally forgot about it. Like I think I was just super into some other game,
right?
Forgot about it, forgot that I even had it, and then maybe like 6 months later, I was like, oh yeah, I have this, I should play it. And I go to like install it, and it's already like dead. There's no one playing it. Like I couldn't even get in a game.
Huh.
And like I feel like it just had come out, but I don't even know. The cycles for Call of Duty are really fast. I can barely keep up.
I feel like it's one of those games where like everyone kind of feels that they have to pick up because probably all their friends pick it up, and then they just kind of play it like casually, and then other games come out, but it's like their go-to game if they don't have something else to play on console. I don't know. The console world is so weird to me. It's like a foreign world at this point. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're so limited on like games. You know what I mean? I guess just kind of moving on or whatever. What is the game? Are there any games on the horizon that you're really looking forward to? Or are you just kind of keep playing Overwatch or whatever? Or is there any games that kind of like piqued your interest? I know that you talked about like never playing WoW on an official server until way later. So are you excited about Classic WoW as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play that. Like I never experienced vanilla or anything like that.
It comes out in a couple weeks, man.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that it's what I want.
Right.
Like the one thing that kind of like I wouldn't say it's bad, but the thing that I'm excited for in Classic is just that sense of like, that like community. Just because in WoW now, the levels, like people just blow through the levels so fast to get to level cap. It's not about the journey anymore.
Right.
It's about like the destination. And I feel like most of the fun is being like in some random area, and you're just doing some random quest, and then you like run into someone else doing the random quest, and then you just do it together, and like you have that sort of interaction.
Right.
And then even like now they have all the different shards and stuff for their servers, so you could be in the same server as someone and like barely ever see them just because they're in different shards with other people from other servers. So I feel like before that, if you were in a server and you got some really cool armor set, people would recognize you and be like, oh, that's Ryan Kubo. He's got that weapon, that sword from Illidan or something. And people
there was those hills outside of Orgrimmar? Like there's those, like 3 little hills that you can kind of jump on. So me and my friends would stand up there all day, and we had the Lieutenant General. That was like really high PvP back then, and we would just stand there. And because transmog is not a thing in Classic, you can't transmog. So everyone sees you if you have like crappy greens on. But then like all the raiders, like all the high-end PvP raiders, they would have like full set or 4 out of 5 pieces from like 40-man, 60-man rag, and it's like, oh snaps, those people are like really good. And we would just sit on top of this hill, and we all had like full PvP gear, like almost full PvP gear, and like people knew who you were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you kind of built up a clout for yourself in game.
That being said, we need to start if we're gonna play, because I'm gonna dabble in it too. We need to figure out what server we're gonna play on, because they've confirmed that Classic WoW will have no cross realm. So if you are on Blackrock and I'm on Area 52, we will not be able to play together.
Oh, nice. So then that means you'll be able to get that server.
Yeah. So we have to play on the same server.
Yeah.
And then we also need to decide PvP or PvE, because remember in PvP you can't turn it off. if we join a PvP server. So we need to decide what we want to do. I'm feeling like maybe it's since it's your first time, we do PvE first, and then we go to a PvP server when we're feeling it.
I say just go straight PvP.
Just straight PvP, get mounts at level 40, so we're just nubs until then.
Yep. Go big or go home.
All right.
Actually,
I mean,
that's one of the reasons why I used to always want to play WoW, was just that sort of faction conflict where you could just be doing something mundane and then 20 horde just or 20 alliance, whatever side you're on, just come running over this hill, and it's just this chaotic battle.
Right.
It's just so unscripted, and I think that's what I've always admired.
There's no flying mounts in Classic, if you didn't know, so there's no way for you to escape. Right?
Yeah.
So, also no dailies, so we're gonna be super broke AF. But I mean, besides that, are you gonna be Horde or Alliance? Have you determined that yet?
I'm honestly kind of leaning towards Alliance.
Okay.
But I'm not sold. Like I just think like the vanilla expansion Horde,
they
character pool is not the best looking.
Right.
And then like you got Paladin on Alliance, right?
Yeah.
Was Paladin on Alliance? Shaman?
Yeah, you have Shaman on Horde. Yeah, so I get you. It was Shaman on Horde for sure. I get it. So yeah, so I will say this as well, if you didn't know this, you can't make two factions on the same server. So keep that in mind as well. That yeah, that's a thing. So if you make an Alliance character on Blackrock, it will not allow you to make a Horde character on Blackrock. You have to delete the character.
No traitors.
Yeah, you have to commit. So I'm probably still gonna go Horde. Just because I don't really like the Alliance leveling experience. That's just me. From what I remember in a Classic, I remember it was a lot of like traveling around. From what I recall. But that's just my experience. That's just my thing. I mean, if you make a character, I mean, here's the thing. I'll just level with you because I want to play Classic, but I'm not 12 anymore, like literally. And I don't think I have time. So if you go Alliance, like I'll go Alliance just to have someone to play with, and then maybe like on my own I'll play Horde. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just on like a different server or something like that. Because I don't think I'm gonna have time to level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll kind of be interested to see how big the player base stays after, say, like a few months or a couple months.
I mean, it'll be only the hardcore, the most hardcore probably at that point. You know?
Yeah, like I'll be interested to see. Like it could just be like a revival of that old school MMO type experience where maybe that it's just like a cycle and it's just kind of coming back into cycle, like where current WoW maybe is just so different from where it used to be that I don't know, it's like a different game almost,
right?
Where this is just kind of coming back to something else. So I'll be interested to see what it looks like.
Yeah, 600 hours. We have to get ready for that. I really do hope that it's a good game. I don't think it will be. I am already embracing myself that it won't be the same. You know, I think the thing that made Classic WoW so good for me was that I was younger. And when you're younger, you don't care a lot about the meta, right? And how to do things and like what's the best way to do like X, Y, and Z, you know?
Right.
And I think that's really, really important because nowadays I feel like probably in Classic people will, you know, get a meta, stick with it, and start playing with it a lot, and start like, this is what you have to do. And there probably was that back in the day, but I don't know if a lot of people cared about it as much. And also, we kind of just live in a different day and age now, where back then there were, you know, people would frequent forums still, right? And we didn't have really any established websites besides like Wowhead, but there wasn't really much data mining. There were YouTube content creators, right? But they weren't as prevalent back then because YouTube was just starting off. We didn't have Twitch as well. with Twitch streamers and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that the WoW Classic experience is as close to the same as possible. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not anything like how it used to be, because I feel like so much stuff is going to be discovered so fast.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my only concern with it or whatever. But I mean, I'll play it. They said it's coming out in the summer of 2019, so summer is almost here. So we may have it happen soon. Maybe we'll get early access or something like that. You know, I'm not really sure, but I think that forcing people to have a community, you know, it's probably pretty good. You know, and I really like that or whatever. Did you ever play an MMO called Asheron's Call? It came out in like 1999.
No, I don't think so. I think I've heard of it though. I think it was like pre EverQuest, right? Or is
yeah,
that...
pretty. It was around the same time as EverQuest, but
Okay.
Asheron's Call was probably, in my opinion, one of the funnest games I've ever played. There was a way in the game where basically, so the way you moved your character in the game was really weird, but you can move your character with WASD, and then you can move the camera around with the mouse, the keyboard mouse control, like the keyboard keys on, like movement keys on your keyboard next to your numpad. So you WASD and use that. You wouldn't even use your mouse to play. But because of that, you were able to strafe a lot and basically like power slide like around the whole map while you're PvPing. So basically, like as a mage, you'd be able to like shoot a fireball and then immediately like you know, like Twitch react and dodge it like within real time or whatever. But it was one of the funnest games that I actually liked or whatever. But one of the things I liked about that game is that I'm probably going to get the words wrong because it's been so long, but essentially you could have an apprenticeship. So what that meant is that I remember logging onto the game for the first time, and I was playing on my own because I didn't have my friends weren't home from school yet or something, and some guy came up to me and was like, "Oh, do you want to be like my apprentice?" I said, "Sure." So what that did was I was now this guy's apprentice, and 20% of the XP that I gained went to him. Right? I didn't lose out on 20% of XP. Just like if I got 10% XP from killing a mob or something like that, he would just get 2%, right? It would just give it to him, right? And because of that, it actually, so because he was just getting XP from that, from just like helping me out and leveling or whatever, until like I decided to leave the apprenticeship and stuff like that as well. Like it just created like it kind of forced it, yeah, but it was really cool because it like I remember getting like a really good sword from him and like some pretty good armor. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, go here. This is how you play the game. This is the fastest way to clear the mobs." And he was like actually willing to help me and like wanted to help me and took me through like the first like 4 to 5 hours of the game because he was gaining XP from it, right? So it was beneficial to him to like not troll me, like show me around, kind of teach me the ropes. Hey, don't go here, because if you died, you lose XP. Like, so be careful around these areas and kind of get someone to actually like literally like I was his apprentice. Like he was literally like showing me around and like teaching me the game.
You both benefited.
Yeah, which I thought was like really, really cool. And you know, man, that was probably like one of my gaming memories that's like really memorable for me from just like a gaming standpoint or whatever, because that was really cool. Yeah, it felt like forced community, but like we actually became friends and like we still talk to this day and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I like it. So classic WoW, you're unsure of race, but are you sure of class? Do you know what you're gonna play?
I'm not exactly sure yet either. I guess it also depends on what faction I go. Like, I think if I went Horde, I'd for sure go Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go Alliance, might go Mage. Not sure.
Ooh, okay. I mean, mages were better on Horde as undead.
Oh, really?
Because of racials, yeah. Because Will of Forsake, like their passive was Will of Forsaken, which allowed it so that you can get out of stuns any CC. And so you would get out of CCs for that, but then also there's a PvP trinket that also lets you get out of CCs, and those two didn't share the same cooldown. So you had two ways to get out of CCs, and then later on, I think in like Mist of Pandaria, they combined it into one cooldown. So if you use Will of the Forsaken, it used the PvP trinket or whatever, which was kind of like lame. People were pretty pissed about that, but all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I guess I'll also have to wait to see what they say about how things are going to be done, because that could also sway my decision.
Yeah, I haven't looked into anything about it. I'm kind of choosing not to, right? Because I'm sure that there's like patch notes out there of like what patch it's going to start on, how it's going to be and stuff like that, who's really OP.
Right.
And I just don't want to kind of like avoid that type of stuff right now because I'm like, nah, I just want like the full fledged, like chill, like experience with it all,
Yeah.
So,
Like even still, like I don't even know if I would. I'm not gonna like min max or anything. So
right. You just want to
even
kind of
if
like be in there, experience the
yeah, like
world.
even if the racials don't really benefit my class, like I don't really care.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess talking about, races not benefiting your class, do you know what also doesn't benefit your class, Blake?
What?
Cheating on your spouse. So, if you guys haven't heard the news, and we can talk about it a little bit, I guess just to kind of end this, or kind of go into like a more serious topic very briefly. If you guys didn't hear, a pretty big YouTuber by the name of Pro Jared ended up, I guess, cheating on his wife. And posted a statement about it. And we don't want to go into too much detail about it, but he posted a statement saying, "Don't believe like rumors you see online." Then she posted a thing back that said, "I don't even know what he just said. He blocked me online, but he cheated on me with this other girl who is from another YouTube channel." They're both content creators. If you don't know, Bro Jared's like a YouTuber. His wife is a cosplay YouTuber, I believe, or some other type of content creator as well. The woman he cheated on was the ex-wife of somebody else in the YouTube content gaming creation scene. So it's just a bunch of hoopla. It's a bunch of like ridiculous craziness that like you guys can look it up. It was trending on YouTube for like a long time, and it was trending on like Twitter for a long time. I think the crazy thing is the dude lost 15, I think almost 18% of his subs in less than
Wow.
24 hours. So he was at 1 million subs and he's at like right now like 850. Subs.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah, like that is like a ton or whatever. So I guess my take about like this whole thing or whatever is neither you or I are big content creators at all, Blake, but what is your take, I guess, on just like social media or YouTube relationships? Because we've talked about this with Pixel before in the past, but there's been lots of controversy with this, obviously, right? There's the take of like you just share everything, share. You involve your kids, you involve your wife, you make there are literally like YouTube channels and Twitch streams out there where they are making content together, and it's like both of our channels, right? I think like a lot of like channels that you and I grew up watching, maybe when we were younger, I can think of off the top of my head was like Shay Carl, right? He had like all his kids, his wife, and then he had controversies, right? And then there was even like I believe like prank channels. Like I think one of the ones that I used to watch was called like Prank vs. Prank or something. And like they ended up like divorcing or breaking up. And the channel's like totally dead now and stuff like that. So like what and then there's other people who they have relationships, but it's totally like no one knows if they are or not in a relationship, right? They could be not. They keep it very, very private, and some people feel like that's disingenuous, right? If it's a female or even a male, but more along on a female end, it's very disingenuous because you're like tricking your viewers, right, and perfecting this image of like singleness and stuff like that. So kind of just like with this whole Pro Jared thing and a bunch of other stuff that's been coming out or whatever, like what is your take on this stuff? Like what is your feeling about like just being in the public spotlight and having like a like a relationship so public, especially when it comes to like YouTube or Twitch, where it's kind of unheard of. They're not at the status of like celebrities, right? Like mainstream movie actors or actresses. Like,
I
what
don't
would you
know.
do in that situation, right?
I guess for me, it would all depend on like what my spouse wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my spouse was say another YouTuber and I was a YouTuber, then I could see us collaborating and maybe making a joint channel or something. Because then you're just doing your thing together. But what kind of weirds me out is if it's like a YouTuber who is pretty big and then they bring their spouse, their girlfriend into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, now that I think about that, I don't even know if a good idea. Because whenever you work with, say, your spouse or your relatives, like everyone's like, oh, don't do that. Like you need that separation. And I feel like YouTube is the same way. Like if you're working with them every day, everything becomes work and you can't really relax and like live your life.
Right.
So
I know from like a couple of like vlogging channels who have incorporated their relationships or their family into it. I know that like some of them who have struggled, you know, in the past, and then also some, you know, that are debunked and some that are still successful. I think they said one of the big struggles with it is like almost like having to create safety words, but then also like just at times there were times where like, are we doing this for content or are we doing this because we actually want to do this, right? Especially on like YouTube
right.
or any type of Twitch stream, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's go travel to like Disney World or something. Let's vlog the whole thing because we need something really cool, a momentous event to happen to like film or record. So let's road trip there when we normally would probably just fly there, you know what I mean, and take the easy route. But it's like this is more content, it's easier to film, and it was like kind of the question of like, are we doing this because we actually want to go to Disney World and spend time with each other, or are we doing this just to like create content, right? So these things could be like very disingenuous. You know what I mean? I think is what some like content creators felt. So it's hard. Like I'm definitely like not an expert on that, you know what I mean? Um
Yeah.
I feel like if it was creator to creator, that's something obviously that they need to talk about and try to figure out. But you know, some relationships work out well. I know that like some relationships it's like the manager is their wife or something or their spouse and they're the content creator and they're more in the background, you know what I mean? And working things out with them, that sometimes works out, but I don't know, man. It would be super hard, but um
Yeah, I feel like if both spouses are content creators, there's no like checks and balances in that relationship. Where say if one is a content creator, the other one is sort of the man, then the spouse that's a manager can kind of be like, hey, no, let's not do this for content because I don't want to.
mhm,
Or they kind of draw that hard line where like it's a family vacation. I'm not a content creator.
right.
Let's keep it about our family. Whereas if they're both content creators and it's like, hey, this is great content, like everything's content to them,
Yeah,
and
and
so
just like
then
it kind of snowballs into like this thing where it's like what the crap is happening right now.
yeah, so I could see one being the creator and one not working out better,
Mhm.
but it's still hard to say. I guess it also depends on the relationship and where they draw lines. Because I feel like the channels that we watch, they're kind of pioneers
Mhm.
in a
So they
sense
so they
where
didn't really know what they were doing. Yeah.
yeah, where like say in Hollywood, um, if like a spouses acted together or something, it was only they were working together for like a couple months, and then they go do their press junkets and interviews, and it really wasn't that much together. And then after that, they could kind of break off from the public light and do their own thing. And
Mhm.
so it wasn't as stressful. Well, like it's probably stressful, but not on the daily level. Like if
Mhm.
you're a vlogger and you constantly need content for your daily or weekly vlogs, I don't know. It seems like it'd be a lot harder to be a vlogger couple.
Yeah, or even just like Twitch streamers. I don't think there's actually many couples that Twitch stream together now that I think about it. I know there's a lot of Twitch streamers though that have the whole like the husband or wife streams and then their spouse is in the background like managing them. That seems to work out like pretty well for people because
Yeah,
I think that's pretty ideal because they obviously will have the best interest at hand for their spouse or whatever and can kind of
right.
like tell when the tell when they're doing things good or bad, but yeah, it's true that even nowadays though, content creators are still looking for brand managers. I feel like a lot of content creators are still like the idea of having a brand manager or someone managing you is like new or foreign. I think it's more normal now, but I still think it's like rare.
Yeah,
You know?
just even the thought of someone who just makes videos that is normally just like a casual thing, like a hobby, like for just the fact that that level of hobby now needs someone to manage them and deal with all the public light from that. Like I don't think anybody expected that whenever YouTube first got big. Like what is it, 10 years ago? 15 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely changed a lot too, right? Because I remember a lot of the early YouTube videos were like, and I'm talking real YouTube video, guys. I'm not talking about like when people used to rip 480p 4-part anime episodes onto YouTube or whatever. But I'm talking like, I feel like, like it was like sketch comedy. It was still very much so like these, something that you would see on TV or something, maybe a little bit edgier, right? I think of like Donald Glover, Derek Comedy. Which is like still one of my favorite YouTube channels. If you ever watched them, pretty good. But and then it got more and more like personal, right, as it went on, and it was like, okay, let's vlog. And then the vlogs kind of evolved into what it is nowadays, where it's just kind of like this weird, like crazy things like Logan Paul or Jake Paul, let's say, right, for example, or any of these other like Viners that have come onto the scene who are vloggers, where it's just like their vlogs are just so crazy and outrageous compared to like what you and I used to watch back in the day from vloggers, where like sometimes their vlogs were like really boring. Let's be honest, it was very mundane.
Yeah, it was more you were watching them for their personality rather than the crazy things they did or like living vicariously through. Or I think that's where YouTube is at now, is you see all these young YouTubers with like these crazy cars and like doing all this lavish stuff, getting crazy expensive hotel rooms or getting first class tickets on crazy planes, and like kids that are watching it are kind of getting to experience that and like see what it's like, and they're probably interested in that life. Kind of like they're looking to them sort of like rock stars or something, where it's like, oh, that's so crazy cool. It's like, will I ever get that? Probably not, but they kind of get to live through that. So
right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Anyway, I think that's pretty much wraps up everything that we had to talk about this episode. I think we went through like the most random topics ever. Oh, actually, you know what? One more topic before we really go. Sorry, I debated at you all. Because we asked Eli this. So top 3 fast food restaurants of all time. Because we ranked them with Eli, and we pretty much came like my S tier, my A+ tiers were In-N-Out, Chick-fil-A, and Chipotle. My A- tiers, I had McDonald's in there actually. I think McDonald's is actually really good. I think the thing that pushed it to an A is their breakfast. They got the breakfast game on lock. Every other fast food place wants to be their breakfast, but just a scuffed version of their breakfast. So I guess, just to end it off, top 3 fast food places and why, all time.
Probably In-N-Out, because their food is pretty good and it's probably the best value you get right now. Like the cheapest food you can buy, and it's still pretty good. Probably mine's probably gonna be pretty close to yours. Probably Chipotle number 2, because it's like fairly healthier. Like you can go super healthy, get a salad, but then if you also want to double wrap a burrito and have 600 calories worth of tortilla, you can do that.
I forgot that that's what it does. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess Chipotle is pretty filling too for what you get. And you kind of know what you're getting too, so it's not like a surprise. And number 3, I'm gonna say, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's more of like the meal itself that I'm a fan of, not so much like the chain. But I think it's called like Yoroko Cafe.
Can never heard of it.
It's like a poke place.
Okay.
I mainly just say that because there's so many in my area. Like I see them all, but it's just like poke. It's super.
Yeah, it's like the new hot trend right now is poke bowls.
Yeah, so like I like it because it's pretty light and clean. Like it feels. I don't feel like poop after eating it.
Fair.
So I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my go-to right now, at least.
Okay, boom. There we go. Top fast food places. Easy. Anyway, guys, I think with that, we're going to end the episode here. We've been going for a little bit. Once again, though, wanted to thank Blake for coming on to replace Pixel for this episode. Pixel will be back with us for episode number 10, hopefully, if he comes back from his soul-searching Sisterhood of Traveling Pants mission. Well and good. But anyway, thank you, Blake, for coming on. Any social media or last words that you wanted to plug while you were here?
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you want to follow me, just follow me on Twitter. Blake the Pleb. Pretty easy. Last words. Please rate this podcast as high as you can on whatever you're watching it. Support it and tell everybody about it.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Yeah, if you're listening to us on Google Home or Alexa, somehow rate us. I don't know how you do that on those, but shout outs to those listeners who are listening to us in their kitchen or in their living rooms or something like that. Anyway, guys, you guys know where to find me. If you don't know, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Ryan Kubo, RyanKubo. And then also you can check us out on YouTube if you want unedited VODs or visualizations of what both Blake and I look like. You can always go there and be a creep. YouTube.com/SHIGEOS Twitch TV. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week with Pixel, who'll probably be 10 pounds lighter and a lot tanner than he already is. Take care, guys.